right. So, in our immune resilience coaching programs, we teach everyone TRE, tension and trauma releasing exercises. And I realized that a lot of folks who maybe are new to me don't know what that is. So, I'm always talking about the TRE or the trauma releasing exercises, and you may be like, cool, but like, what is that? Because for a lot of people, it sounds a little scary and intimidating. And it's really not. It's actually very gentle. Most people just experience a lot of relief and relaxation after they do these exercises, and the benefits are cumulative. It's also a self help practice. So you can learn it to use it on your own. It's not something that needs constant clinical guidance. It's very safe to use on your own. And the more you do it, the more you benefit. So I now teach all my clients it because I really find that people who do these exercises that I work with, their progress is faster and their healing is more complete. So I've just built it into all my programming. This is part of the reason why we've switched to the coaching program format so that we just have time to do these exercises just built into everything. So let me explain a little bit of what it's about. So, first of all, I don't actually teach your body anything it doesn't already know how to do. That's part of what's so amazing about this modality is that it's not like coercing or pushing or forcing your body to do anything. It's not this like cathartic release. I don't know if you guys saw this. For a while, I was seeing all these ads on my Facebook and Instagram that was like people like on the floor, like rolling around and screaming, and it being like, come to our somatic release retreat or something. And I was just like, ooh, that doesn't look very safe or helpful to me because the reality is most of us with chronic illness and mental health issues are already very dysregulated, right? Like we already have these maybe very extreme or erratic emotional reactions. We feel really out of control in our mind and our body. Our trauma is overwhelming already, right? So it's not going to be helpful to have this like extreme release catharsis experience. You're actually like feeding into the dysregulation. This is also why I don't recommend like really intense breathwork practices early on in people's healing as well. Like at some point, um, that could be something you bring in. I mean, there's some really interesting research in terms of the outcome of like the Wim Hof style breath work and holotropic breath work and stuff like that. But I don't recommend it for people just starting out in their journey. It's way too intense for your body. So, uh, what TRE is it is using these very primal instincts and reflexes that we already have built into our nervous system function. So again, I'm not teaching you anything you don't already know how to do on a deep primal level. I'm just helping you remember that tool is there. So dogs do this, cats do this, deer do this, possums do this, polar bears do this, like impalas do this, all mammals do this, right? And humans are no exception. Now, TRE is the exercises that we use to get you into this instinctual release experience. So the release itself is just built into our DNA, right? It's just something that exists. What the exercises that I am certified in teaching, I guess I should say that. Like, this is where I have my trauma release certification, and it's like I don't remember, like 14-month training or something like that, where you go through and you learn these exercises and you do a lot of your own personal work and you learn a lot of these techniques and the neuroscience behind it. So I went and I did that training. So I am a certified TRE provider. And you can look at the website traumaprevention.com. This is their homepage with all their info. But basically, there were these exercises that were developed to help the body get into this instinctual response that a lot of us have forgotten. Part of this is because of our cultural socialization. So it's not just Westerners, actually. They've seen this in other non Western cultures too, but it tends to be ones that are a little more modernized in some way. That we really tend to repress things, right? Like we really tend to hold things in and get very stoic, right? Um, so observations have been that usually between 5 and 8, we are taught or learn how to hold in this response. Now, this response is a shaking or tremoring response. And so many people will be able to look back in your life and be like, oh, yeah, I get shaky when I have a panic attack. Or, oh my gosh, like when I got married, I was so nervous, I was shaking, right? Or, wow, I remember I was all jittery when I got in that car accident. Or before I have a seizure, I feel shaky. Or I feel like I'm vibrating all the time. I can see my hand trembling, and my doctor doesn't know what it is, and he just says I'm anxious, right? So a lot of people listening may resonate with some of those things, right? So this is a natural, primal nervous system release response in the body that generally is socialized out of us, because even if you've had that experience, usually you clamp down on that experience. You're like, oh my gosh, people can't see me shaking, or like something's wrong with me. I need to stop shaking, right? And then what happens? You have a panic attack, or now you have a sore neck that always hurts, that the chiropractor says nothing's wrong with it, but it still hurts. Or I have a seizure, right? Or I have fibromyalgia, right? Holding in this potential energy, because what that is when we experience a trauma, we contract, right? We tense. Our stress hormones surge, like our fascia, like contracts and tightens. What happens then? Well, hopefully we like get away from whatever that scary thing was that we responded to. When that happens, okay, when our body gets signals of safety, it starts releasing. And to release, yeah, sometimes the muscles just kind of spontaneously melt, but a lot of times we have to shake because there's all this potential energy stored in our tissues, right? And we have to let that go. The tension has to kind of vibrate to unwind itself. So we shake, we tremble, we might even like jerk, right? We vibrate, we purr, right? And we have to structure that experience in a way that feels safe and accessible and controlled, not in a like tighten down and control kind of way, but in a I have leadership over this experience, right? So we actually tend to avoid catharsis in the way we teach this. So we always want you to be present. We always want you to be conscious and be able to modulate the experience as you see fit, right? So the person who developed these exercises is a man named Dr. David Berceli. I'm really hoping I can get him interviewed on the YouTube channel at some point, actually, but we'll see if that happens. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. He's a trauma therapist and a massage therapist. And so he used his knowledge of the trauma response and of the fascia to develop these very simple exercises. And if you go on YouTube and you look at them, there's like 7 of them. Some of them look kind of hard to do. So if you're dealing with chronic fatigue or dysautonomia or anything where you have a certain amount of disability in terms of how you can move, don't worry. I have used these exercises for people with all sorts of different physical ability levels, and you can adjust the exercises. So there's not just one way to do this, and I see really great success with these exercises. I like it because it's really time tested, right? It's been around for a long time. It's been used all over the world. It's a very strong and vibrant community of practitioners who are involved in this world, and it is something that I am so excited to share with more and more people. So now when you get into the immune resilience program, you have what I call group shakes built into the program. So I teach you how to do the exercises just on Zoom, and people just in the safety and comfort of their own home go through this experience, and then we have time to debrief and people have time to ask questions about what they went through. And I am telling you, the results I see from this are astounding. And this is all from not talking about the trauma, right? Not having an intention of this is what I'm going to release or let go of. Usually not even knowing what it is you're releasing. Right? We're just being present with the physical experience. Most people have no idea what they're releasing, but they just feel better afterwards, right? And those feelings of feeling better, they stick. right? They really stick around and they grow with time the more you do it. So I have had people like completely resolve panic attacks, resolve seizures, resolve all different kinds of chronic pain, experience a profound sense of peace, actually feel like they could talk to their nervous system for the first time or befriend their nervous system for the first time. There's just so many incredible effects that I have seen from doing these. Sometimes people do have an insight into what they're experiencing. Like they'll have sensations in a body part that they know they had a trauma in, right? Or they will have a flashback of something, right? So if that happens, it's okay. It's not bad. It's not like we're repressing that by any means. We let that come up if it does, but it's not the goal. So it's all very organic. And there are ways to continue to deepen the experience with time as you get used to the exercises and your body really acclimates to the experience of this. There are all sorts of exploratory prompts that I have my clients do. And so it just gets more and more powerful with time. So I prefer it to things like EMDR because we're not going directly into the trauma memory, right? Like I said, it's just about the present experience of the body letting go. And I find that it is more accessible than types of limbic retraining, like DNRS, for example, because that's too big a leap for a lot of people, right? Going from having this very antagonistic relationship with your own body and your life experience to like this like huge elevation, right? It's just like I just see a lot of people crash and burn with it or just not be able to do it. And so we're not trying to get anything out of this. We are literally just rebuilding your relationship with your nervous system and giving it a vehicle to let go as it's ready to. So it's a very unique modality. I find it very powerful. I'm really excited to teach you. So look into our group coaching. This is a big part of it.